Hi and welcome to the channel. So our time in Rome's ended and we made our way to the port to board the ship. Our first stop, Naples. If you want to see what we got up to in Pompeii, the Amalfi Coast and Sorrento, stay tuned.
Hello world, wake me up to another good morning, time to go. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. 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 We are all looking for adventure.
So we've had an absolute brilliant time here in Rome for the last couple of days. Now we're all packed up.
And we're heading off to the ship.
We'll see you soon. We joined a few other Aussies who were staying at our hotel and organised a transfer to the port, where alongside 3,000 other people, we boarded the Norwegian breakaway. That first day is always an adventure, with so many people eager to get aboard. We had a bite to eat and then were able to access our cabin, where we unpacked our luggage and organised ourselves. Shortly thereafter, the ship departed for Naples. Alright, so this is our cabin. We're heading down to Naples tonight. It's our first night on the ship. Cabin's definitely fairly comfortable. A nice bed, comes with a nice wife. We've been able to unpack, so our wardrobe's full of clothes. Ensuite, definitely pretty functional and nice. A shower and toilet. And then obviously down this way we have our balcony. Should be nice, things we're on the ship for 30 days, have a balcony. Nice big mirror. Ooh, fancy rooster. Nice balcony for us. So yeah, here during the day we can see a little bit more. So it was still fairly dark as we entered the port of Naples, but very spectacular with all of the lights. As the sun came up, you couldn't miss Mount Vesuvius looming in the background. As we came off the ship, we actually met up with some people who recognised us from Hervey Bay. Such a small world. We jumped on a tour bus and headed for the Amalfi Coast. Now this place is absolutely magical. The views are spectacular. Cliff tops plunging deep down into dark blue ocean. Amazing. Very twisty roads though on the way there, quite narrow in some places. Not recommended for the novice drivers. So we drove further up the Amalfi Coast to a little town called Positano. It was beautiful, built into the side of a cliff, but totally landlocked. Awesome blue ocean. The views were absolutely spectacular. Now there's absolutely no land to spare here, so even the school has to have its playground on the roof. There were views aplenty from every direction. So there's a little stall at the top of the lookout selling produce. This little stall's owned by this little guy called Alfie. Alfie absolutely loves a pat, and you actually can't get away from him. Every time you try, he's like, no way, keep going. Anyhow, little Alfie had the best view of the Amalfi Coast. So we drove back the way we came, back into Sorrento. Now our guide Anita, she was super entertaining. She spoke 3 languages and she actually taught us a little bit of sign language, which we might show you later. Now these little alleyways in Sorrento were fantastic to go walking through, full of limoncello shops and beautiful confectionery places. We actually bought some pistachio butter, a little bit like peanut butter but made with pistachio nuts. We bought a freshly made panini from a little store and enjoyed the views of Sorrento. We left Sorrento and headed to Pompeii. Now Pompeii is absolutely massive. Our tour was around 2.5 hours. You could easily spend a couple of days there. But just like the Colosseum, we recommend getting a guide. Our guide was called Claudia, and she'd actually been an archaeologist for a couple of years on the Pompeii site. So she took us into Pompeii and showed us first of all the ludus, which is where the gladiators trained. Those little rooms there were where the gladiators were locked up, and this is the arena that they trained in. Quite amazing to see. Everything in Pompeii is so well preserved. She's actually showing us here some of the original paint or fresco, and this ludus was all red and yellow originally. But everything is just so well preserved here, you don't have to actually use your imagination at all. It's in such great condition. She took us to the theatre. This was a massive theatre for plays and music. She actually gave us a demonstration clapping, and you could hear how good the acoustics were. So obviously a big tiered theatre. Actually had some of the original marble on the floor. Again, everything is so well preserved, you don't need to use your imagination at all. There was some original graffiti. So this is a graffiti here of a gladiator with a massive penis. Very interesting. And this is not new graffiti, this is original graffiti. This is one of the original gates into the city. The stones on the road are just like they were still in use today. Really quite incredible. This area that we saw had actual track marks in the stones. These were from the wheels. This was a fast food place, so just a small place where people would sell soups and stews. And these stones across the road were how the original inhabitants would cross without getting their feet dirty. Some places had loads of tracks from the carts, so their carts actually had steel rims, obviously, and they wore the stonework through. This was actually a bit of a political sign outside someone's house that was still there. Now this house here was the second largest in Pompeii. Very interesting, as you can see from the frescoes on the wall, some of the original paint is still there. It had an open roof. The rain would fall into this little fountain, and then it would drain from there into the well for the family, and that's how they collected their water. There was an upstairs section that we couldn't get to, but a brilliant garden outside. This was their dining room. Again, amazing artwork inside, so well preserved. And this was a wealthy family, so they had their own bathhouse built into the building. Another fresco here of someone sitting. Gives you an idea of how large this was. Now this house was actually built on ruins of a previous house. It also had some original bones that they found in the house, and those bones were mixed with lots of treasure, and they don't know whether the treasure was something that someone was stealing or whether it was the original owners. Now those pots that you saw near the wheel there, they're pointed. They were oil pots, and basically they were transported in a boat, hence the reason why they were pointed on the bottom, and they would set them into some little holes. Now that area there shows how deep the actual original ash was when Pompeii was buried back in 79 AD. There were streets that just went on and on and on, so you could get lost here. Definitely great to have a guide. So these were our couple from Hervey Bay who recognised us. This was a bakery, very well preserved, pizza oven just like we've got at home. How's that? This was the main street, very busy street. Off here was the bathhouse, interesting place to visit. Very large structure, obviously in Roman times bathing was quite popular. So it actually had a plunge pool, so this was a cold pool that people would jump into. The roof was still really well preserved. Now these were lockers for clothes. This shows the hollow floor, and this is how they were able to heat the building, the steam room. It also had double walls, so it was fully insulated, and there were pipes in the walls as well. Very ingenious to have a steam room and hot bathroom. It was great to look around and explore. Next we went to a brothel. So this brothel, quite interesting. The beds were stone. Not too sure if they had a mattress on top of them. But yeah, a number of different little rooms that they would have a curtain drawn across where the prostitutes would be. They had orgies here quite often, and this particular room was for men, homosexual men, as you could see from that fresco above. Very interesting again walking through these narrow streets. You could actually imagine the original inhabitants still there wandering around. The only thing that's really has gone are the roofs in most places, kind of decayed away over time. So this was a sign for fellatio, and if you couldn't read you could actually see the big phallus. They also had phalluses carved into the stones, pointing the direction towards the brothel. This was a really well preserved fountain, and back in the main street. Now, no track marks in this main street because it was pedestrian only, and so they had these bollards at the end to stop wagons coming down into the main street. This is one of the main squares at the far end there. You can see Mount Vesuvius. Very interesting. Some statues. Some of these are a little bit more recent statues that they had built. This street actually had quartz built into it. That was to reflect light at night. Now there's a small museum with artefacts, not a lot of the artefacts have actually been taken away. This was a bronze stove, and of course we could see the remains of some of the inhabitants, still posed as they were the moment they died. Now basically these are plaster casts, so once the flesh rotted away, it left a hollow and they were able to fill that with plaster. Very interesting to see, but the bones are actually still inside some of these corpses. You wouldn't get much out of Pompeii, I don't think, unless you went with a guide. 100% recommend get a guide, and if you can get one like we did, Claudia, who was an actual archaeologist, she was great to listen to, had loads of information. We could have easily spent a day or two here just exploring. The weather was beautiful while we were here, and the place is just astounding. Once we left Pompeii, we headed back to the ship for a little bit of entertainment. Just remember, you can escape the everyday too. If you're enjoying our videos, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification button. Until next time, we'll see you all later.